Hello students, this is Notes 5-5 and we are still adding and subtracting rationals and we have uncommon factored polynomials. So we're going to divide this concept into two sections. In this first one, the denominators will be uncommon, but they will already be factored for you. So let's write down some steps. So for step 1, you want to make sure you get a common denominator. Okay, so Ms. Garcia talked about that in the previous lessons, and that's where you have the least common denominator. To get the least common denominator, you have to take one of every factor. You need to have all the common factors, and then you need to have the uncommon factors as well listed for your least common denominator. Step number 2, you want to collect the entire numerator over one denominator. So in order to do that, once you get your least common denominator, you're going to have to multiply the top and the bottom of each fraction to get it to be the same, and then you're going to collect it over 1. Step number 3, once you get both factors over one denominator, both numerators over one denominator, you're going to factor the numerator if possible. You might not have to do that on every single problem, but if there is any more factoring that needs to be done, you want to do that for this step. And last but not least, it is our famous cleanup step, which is where you want to cancel anything that needs to be canceled and go ahead and get it in the most simplest terms. Okay, so let's look at our first example. We have these two fractions. So the very first thing I want to do is I want to figure out what my least common denominator is, because I'm going to have to get a common denominator. So my LCD from our previous lessons, you want to take the common factors. So in my denominator, I have an x plus 5 and I have an x plus 5 here. Now I've shown my students that anytime you have something added or subtracted to an x, you want to put it in parentheses because that is a team and that is a group and you cannot cancel into a group. So x plus 5 and x plus 5, that is part of my LCD, so I'm going to write that down because both fractions have that as a denominator. The other thing that this fraction over here has is an x. That has to be part of my LCD as well, so I'm going to put that. So now I have one of everything that is in the denominator. So this is my LCD. Now in the first fraction, I need to get my denominator to look like this. The only thing that I am missing from that denominator is an x. So let's multiply the top and the bottom by x. When I do that, I'm not changing up the fraction because I'm essentially just multiplying by 1. But whatever you do on the bottom, you have to multiply on top as well. Now in this denominator right here, we already have x times x plus 5, so I don't have to multiply anything there. So what am I going to have here? I'm going to have 2x over x times x plus 5. And over here, since it didn't change, I'm just going to have the same thing, 7x plus 10 over x times x plus 5. Well, we need to combine it over one denominator. Now, since we have a common denominator, we can combine just the top. So on the top, we're going to have 2x, but then we want to put that plus in between there, so plus 7x plus 10. And it's going to be over the same denominator, x times x plus 5. And now we want to clean up and combine the numerators. So 2x plus 7x. 2x plus 7x is 9x. And then we have the plus 10. And it's over x times x plus 5. Now at this point you want to see if there's any more factoring that needs to be done. Well, on top I have a 9x plus 10. The only thing I could factor, because it is a linear term, the only thing that I could factor out is a common factor. Well, 9 and 10, the only common factor is 1, and that's not going to help me, and so this is my final answer. Moving on to example 2. We want to start off by figuring out what our LCD is. Well, if you look at all these denominators, I have an x plus 2 and an x minus 2. And then over here I have an x plus 2. Let's put that in parentheses because remember that is a team. And then we have an x minus 2 and that is a team as well, so I'm going to put it in parentheses. So if we're getting our LCD, it looks like we're going to have an x plus 2 written down. So let's write down that. And then we're also going to have an x minus 2. So I'm going to write that down. And then in this denominator, I have an x plus 2, but I already have that one written down. And then over here, I have an x minus 2, and I already have that one written down too. So let's get all of our denominators to look like this here. So let me go ahead and change my color. Let's go to this aqua color. Okay, so in this first fraction, I already have an x plus 2 and an x minus 2, so I don't have to multiply by anything there. But in this one, it would help me if I multiplied the top and the bottom by x minus 2 because I need that in my denominator. This one right here is an x minus 2, which means I'm going to have to multiply the top and the bottom by an x plus 2 in order for it to look like my LCD over here. All right, so let's go ahead and write it over one denominator. So I'm going to write the denominator, and that's going to be my x plus 2 and x minus 2. What am I going to have on top? Well, I already have the 6, so I'm going to put 6. And then notice that there's a plus, so let's put the plus. And then I've got 2 times x minus 2. Let's go ahead and distribute that before we write it down. So 2 times x is 2x. And then 2 times negative 2 is minus 4. And then we have this minus 5. Now notice that there is a minus here. That's very important. You have to put the minus with the 5 before you distribute. So that's going to make this a plus negative 5. So I'm going to distribute my negative 5. So I've got negative 5x. Negative 5 times 2 is minus 10. Okay, now let's go ahead and combine our like terms. So what do I have in common? Let's see, I have this 2x plus a negative 5x, and that gives me negative 3x. I have 6 minus 4, which gives me 2, and then 2 minus 10, which is minus 8. So that's what that combines to be. Now I still have the x plus 2 and the x minus 2 in the denominator. Is there anything else that I can do to factor or to simplify? Well, on top, I have a negative 3x minus 8. Because it is linear, I'm looking for a common factor that I could factor out. 3 and 8 do not have a common factor, and so this is factored all the way. And this is your final answer. Okay, moving on to number 3, let's write down what our LCD is. This is a subtraction problem, but again, a subtraction problem is just an addition problem if you distribute this minus to the 18. So let's change this to a plus and put the negative up here or the minus up here with the 18. Now it's just an addition problem, so we still need to get a least common denominator. Well, if you look at our denominator, we have an x, so let's write down x. We have an x plus 3, let's write down x plus 3. When I come over here, I have an x plus 3 also, but that's been taken into consideration over here, so I don't have to write it down again. And then over here, I'm going to have an x minus 3, so I'm kind of running out of room, so I'm going to put it over here. And now I'm ready to go. So let's multiply our first fraction. What is it missing in the denominator? Well, I have an x, and I have an x plus 3. So I've got x plus 3. I need an x minus 3. So let's multiply the top and the bottom by x minus 3. Okay, in the second fraction, I have an x plus 3 and I have an x minus 3, but now I need an x. So I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom by x. So let's go ahead and finish this out. We've got the denominator. We've got x times x plus 3 and times x minus 3. We've got our common denominator, so let's combine the numerator over one denominator. Well, before I write it down, I'm going to distribute. So I've got 2x times x and then 2x times a negative 3. That gives me 2x squared minus 6x. And then I have this x, but remember it's getting multiplied by the negative 18. I know that's confusing because there is a minus there, but keep in mind that that's multiplying, so that's going to give me a negative 18x. Let's go ahead and combine our like terms. On top, we have 2x squared. There's nothing that I can combine with that. We have negative 6x and a negative 18x. Negative 6x minus 18x, that gives me negative 24x or minus 24x all over x times x plus 3 times x minus 3. Okay, is there any more factoring that we can do? Well, if you look on top, I have an x squared. I also have a number out front that's 2. So let's see if we have a common factor that we can factor out. Both of these terms have a 2 that I could divide out and an x. So let's divide that out. So I'm going to have a 2x that I'm dividing out. You have to write that down, don't forget. And then when I divide out a 2x, I'll be left with x. Divide a 2x out here, and you have minus 12. And it's all over x times x plus 3 times x minus 3. Okay, look for any common factors. Well, I don't have a 2 that I could cancel anywhere, but I do have this x, so let's take that x and let's cancel it. And then x minus 12, that's a team. I don't have another x minus 12, so I can't do anything with that there. It looks like this is my final answer. Your final answer is 2 times x minus 12 over x plus 3 times x minus 3. And there you have it. You are able to add and subtract with uncommon factored polynomials. Don't forget to answer your WISC, and if you have a quiz to the side of this, go ahead and attempt the quiz and come to class ready to work. We'll see you tomorrow.